Hello, my name's Serena and I'm 37 years old. A lot has happened in my life in these last few months and I just thought I'd come on here and share my experience with you. I also want to share this as a cautionary message to always listen to your gut. Not all family members can be trusted and it's always better to be safe than sorry. My story starts with me meeting my husband, Danny. Danny and I met at work. He worked in another department, and we happened to meet at a celebration that our company was having for all the departments. Danny and I got along really well, so well that we in fact spent the entire event just talking to each other. We exchanged numbers when it came time to go back home. Needless to say, we started dating pretty soon after that. We dated for a long while, about 3 years before we decided to get married. Our wedding had to be the happiest day of my life. Mine and Danny's relationship was a very good one. We rarely ever fought and we had a way of understanding each other without needing to say it out loud. So while I was very happy and satisfied with our relationship, I had a problem with only one thing, and that was my mother-in-law, Willow. Willow was a character in my life, to say the least. She was pretty agreeable to be around. She had her moments of rudeness, but nothing that I couldn't handle. She would sometimes make snide remarks at me and would sometimes even blatantly insult me to my face. Of course, Danny would have my back in a heartbeat, and I was grateful for that. That was not the issue I had with her, though. I don't know if Willow actually struggled with her memory, but my God, was it an actual issue. She forgot things everywhere all the time. Danny and I tried to tell her multiple times to actually get help for it, but she refused to because she believed she was completely fine. But then I realized she would purposely forget a lot of things when it came to me. Like, for example, there was this one time when she borrowed my laptop because she wanted to browse through some things on Amazon for herself. While doing that, she ordered all these expensive things and conveniently forgot that my card information was saved on Amazon. The order was placed using my money, and it was a lot of money. I was upset with her for it, but I let it go because Danny managed to get her to pay me back the money. Another time, Danny and I were planning to go for a short trip and I needed someone to cat sit for me. None of my friends were available and my parents were out of town too. I hesitatingly asked Willow to look after my cat. She had to do nothing but come to my house once a day and put food and water in my cat's bowls. She assured me that she would do that. But when Danny and I got back home, our house was infested with ants and my cat's food bowl was overflowing and also crawling with ants. My cat was itchy all over because of those ants. I was furious and Danny drove me over to Willow's house. "Welcome back. It's lovely to see you both." "Really? What did you do? I asked you to do one thing." "Mom, why did you not look after the cat?" "What are you talking about? I did. I filled its bowls with food and water." "Yeah, you overfilled it and now the house is crawling with ants." "Oh well, it's not my fault that your house had ants in it. I still took care of your stupid cat. My cat couldn't eat any of the food or drink any of the water because of the ants. Did you even go over every day like I asked you to?" "I went over the first day after you left and I filled the bowl up real good. I figured if I filled the bowl with a lot of food and water, the cat would be fine for a while." "Mom, that's not really how it works. That's a crappy line of logic to follow, and even you know it." "Pardon me for not knowing how to take care of pets. You know I hate them." "So you went over only one day?" "Yeah, I forgot about the cat after." "You know, if you knew you wouldn't be able to take care of the cat, why did you just tell me? I wouldn't have asked you." "Look, is the cat alive? Yes. That's all that matters." "That was a very crappy thing for you to do. I need you to apologize to Serena." Ugh, whatever. Sorry, Serena. I was really upset at how casually Willow was treating what she did. She didn't even seem remorseful. After she apologized, I walked away. I didn't trust myself to not explode at her. I was fuming, and seeing her act like it was no big deal made me want to wring her neck. Danny followed me back out and apologized on his mother's behalf. Of course, I didn't let him apologize because he had nothing to do with his mother's actions. We got the ant infestation taken care of, and a vet visit later my cat was doing fine. Now I'm only telling you this story because in hindsight I should have realized how Willow had always been showing me signs of her callousness and carelessness. If I had fought back to this incident, I could have avoided a lot of pain. About a year after this incident, I got pregnant with my son Eric. The pregnancy was no easy task. I had the worst of all the popular pregnancy symptoms. To make things worse, I went into labor pretty early and Eric was born prematurely. I wasn't allowed to hold my son for a good 2 weeks. Danny and I had it very rough in those 2 weeks. When I was finally able to hold my son, I knew in my heart that I could never let anything bad ever happen to him. Danny felt the same way, and we both decided to not let anyone from either of our families or any of our friends meet our baby. We wanted to have some family bonding time with our child. It would also serve as a way to protect our son during his most vulnerable months. I also took time off from work to take care of my child. Danny and I decided that it would be best for me to stop working until I recovered and our baby was a little older. Thankfully, I didn't have to quit my job. I was given a year's worth of maternity leave, along with the ability to work from home. Before we knew it, 3 years had passed. Eric was growing well and was doing very well for his age. He was adored by everyone in Danny and I's lives. But those 3 years were always racked with either work or taking care of Eric. Danny and I realized that we hadn't spent any real time together, so we decided to go on a date one weekend. Danny happened to mention it to Willow, and she insisted that she babysit for us. At that moment, I had a gut feeling to not let her babysit. I had no idea why. I mean, in my head, there was no way she would actually harm a baby. So after a small discussion with Danny, we agreed to let Willow babysit Eric. Danny and I had a great time on our date. We went back to Willow's place well after we were done with dinner. When we got there, I noticed that Willow's car was not in the driveway. Alarm bells started ringing in my head. Danny was just as confused as I was, but we tried to remain calm. We walked up to the door and rang the bell, only to get no answer. I was panicking at this point, but Danny had a spare key to the house and he got us in. When I went in, Eric was lying in bed crying. He ran up to me and I carried him in my arms. I was furious. Danny had looked around the house and did not find Willow anywhere. Willow had left my child all alone at home for God knows how long. Willow returned 10 minutes after we did, and I angrily asked her where she had been. "Where the hell were you?" "Oh, I got a call from one of my friends. She was in town and asked me to go out for a coffee." "So you just left Eric here when you went to go for coffee?" "Well, what did you expect me to do? Carry the kid with me?" "Of course. Or even just not go. First of all, that's stupid because it would have been annoying to deal with a crying baby when I'm just trying to catch up with a friend. Secondly, the house was a mess. I didn't want my friend to see that." "Are you being serious right now? How are you treating this so casually?" "Look, I made sure Eric was asleep for a while before I left. I didn't think I'd be out for so long, but I lost track of time." "That was very, very irresponsible of you." "You guys are new parents, so I get the freak out. But there's no reason to worry so much. Kids are tougher than you think." "Just shut up. I never want you around Eric ever again." "You can't do that." "Why, what would you have done if Eric got seriously hurt? You're lucky that we're not pressing charges on you." "But he didn't." Danny, say something. You can't let me not see my grandson because of this. I'm just disgusted with how casually you're talking about this. Serena's right, and I support her decision. I don't want you near our son anytime soon. I didn't let Willow come near our family for the next 3 years. Just the thought of her would make my blood boil with rage. She tried to reach out on many occasions, but I ignored her. Danny was on my side, although I knew he didn't like not talking to his mom. I told him that he was free to talk to his mom and visit her. I just didn't want her back in mine or Eric's lives. Danny spoke to her every other weekend, and that was about the extent of our involvement with Willow. And then one day, Danny told me that he had something to discuss with me. So, there's something I need to discuss with you. Mom has been calling me every day. Oh? What does she want? She keeps apologizing for what she did to Eric 3 years ago. Why is she suddenly apologizing for it? Well, she told me she wanted to see her grandson again. Absolutely not. Yeah, well, that's exactly what I said. Mom then went into this rant about how she's getting old and how she doesn't want to live the rest of her life estranged from her son and her grandson. That was a fate she chose for herself. I know, but you can't possibly be thinking about letting her come back into our lives. She just seems so apologetic. Yeah, probably because she has something more devious in her mind. I doubt that. I know you're still hung up over what happened, because she put our son's life in potential danger. I'm sorry, but I don't want someone who showed no care for my son in his life. He deserves better than this. And I completely agree. All I'm saying is that we slowly introduce her back into his life. No. Serena, don't be so stubborn. I'm not suggesting we let her be with him unsupervised again. All I'm saying is that we let her see him. That's a big and scary thing to do. What if when our backs are turned for a second, she'll hurt him? I'm just saying that she behaved like what she did was not wrong at all. I fully agree. That's why we'll do it slowly. We'll test the waters. I promise you that Eric will at no point be left alone with her. But she's right. She doesn't deserve to not see her grandson. She's been apologizing like crazy recently, and she really does seem remorseful right now. Fine. She can meet him, but only when I'm there. She's not allowed to touch him unless he tells her she can. She has to respect all the boundaries that are set by us and Eric. If she makes a fuss about it, her visitation rights get revoked. That's fair. I'll tell her that she can meet him next weekend. Even though I didn't want it, I let Willow come back into our lives. She became a lovely grandparent to Eric. She complained about the boundaries we set, but she never once violated them. Slowly, she and Eric began to develop a good bond, and we began seeing her once a week for family dinners. She would spoil Eric with all the gifts he wanted and would plan for family trips just so he could have a good time. She made sure that Danny and I were involved in everything. She kept this up for the next 3 years, and I slowly believed that she had changed. And then one day, she came over to our place. She told us she had something important to ask us. I need to ask you guys something. What is it, Mom? I was just thinking that Eric and I haven't really spent much time recently. I mean, thanks to Serena, I missed a lot of time with him. You were nothing but a danger to him. Of course, I wouldn't let you be around him. I left him unsupervised once, Serena. Yes, you left him alone at home when you were supposed to be looking after him to go out with your friend for a coffee. How in the world would I be okay with you ever watching after my son? Okay, Mom, what is it that you wanted to ask us? I wanted to ask if I could take Eric out to the zoo this weekend. What? Why? Eric keeps talking about his love for giraffes, and I figured that I could take him to see some. Mom, we just gave you the reason we don't want you to have alone time with Eric. I know, and I really am sorry for what I did. I'm sorry I got so defensive about it. I hate that I did that to him. I just want to prove to both of you that I've become better. So, you want to take him to the zoo? That's a good 2-hour drive away from us. Yeah, I know it's a big ask, but I promise you that I'll bring Eric back. You can go as long as we come along. No, I want some alone time to bond with him. Absolutely not. How long will you keep punishing me for something I did 6 years ago? I've been good so far and have never once hurt Eric. Just please. You know what, Mom? Why don't you give Serena and me some time to talk about it? We'll get back to you on Thursday. Fine. I obviously didn't want Eric to go somewhere far alone with Willow, but Danny was sure that Willow had changed. She had been a good person to him the past few years, so much so that she was Eric's favorite grandma. We asked Eric if he wanted to go to the zoo with only Willow, and he excitedly said yes. So against my better judgment, I told Willow she could take Eric with her. Eric was excited to go on a trip with his grandma. I was anxious about it. I asked Willow when they'd be back, and she told me that they'd be back by 4 p.m. I was worried about letting my son go out with her for so long, but he looked so happy that I put aside my worries. I spent the rest of the day in an anxious mess. When it finally turned 4, I waited for Eric to return. Only he did not. I waited another hour and figured that maybe they were stuck in traffic, but an hour later and they still weren't home. Danny thought that they had maybe stopped to get dinner together, so I gave them another hour. But when they still didn't come back, I called Willow. Willow? Yes, Serena. Where are you? I'm at home. All right, and where's Eric? You left with him this morning and it's 6 p.m. right now. What's taking so long? Oh, right. I think I forgot him at the zoo. I guess I also forgot to tell you about it. What? What the hell do you mean by you forgot him at the zoo? Well, 1 minute he was holding my hand and the next he wasn't. I didn't really pay much attention because I was heating up like crazy. I just left the zoo when it got too hot for me. I was halfway home and I realized that Eric wasn't in the car. What the actual hell is wrong with you? How could you not immediately call me or the cops? Relax, it's not that big of a deal. The zoo is open until 8 p.m. I'm sure if you leave right now, you'll get there in time to bring him back. How are you being so nonchalant about this? He's just a child. He's old enough to know where to go if he's lost. He'll be fine. You just go collect him right away. I'm going to make sure you live to regret doing this. I hung up the phone on her. I was scared about what was happening with Eric. Danny and I drove as fast as we could to the zoo. Danny kept apologizing for convincing me to let Willow take Eric, but I too should have been smarter about making that decision. It was only natural to trust someone who was supposed to be family. On the way to the zoo, I managed to get in contact with the management, who told me that my son was doing okay and was sitting in the security room. I informed them that my husband and I were on our way, and they assured me that my son was safe and would be there when we got there. When we got there, the zoo had closed, but the security was waiting for Danny and I. They led us to Eric, who began crying as soon as he saw us. He refused to let go of us for a good 5 minutes. The security guards informed us that he had cried for hours until he finally just remained silent the entire time. Danny and I tried to ask him questions, but he refused to talk. He was still scared and wouldn't stop crying. On the drive back home, I sat in the back with him. He kept crying and stopping. My heart hurt for him. I knew I needed to put Willow in her place. I told Danny that I wanted to get the cops involved, and he agreed with me. So I called the cops and reported everything that Willow had done. They told me that they'd bring Willow in, but they'd need Danny and I to make statements. An hour later, I got a call from Willow. Why are there cops at my door? I told you that I'll make you regret it. It was not a big deal. You got the police involved in this? You put my child's life in danger. Why would I not get the law involved? You got him back, didn't you? I was only trying to get back at you for keeping him away from me for so long. It's not that deep. So you decided to traumatize my child? All for some petty revenge? The kid'll get over it. You need to stop coddling him. This is why the men in this generation are sensitive as hell. You need to teach your kid to be a man. My child is a child. His gender does not matter. He's expressing how scared he was when you abandoned him in a crowded place hours away from home. Get the cops away from here now. They won't stop banging on my door. What would you have done if Eric got injured? Or even worse, kidnapped? Would you have been this nonchalant? He's fine. Stop talking about hypotheticals. You deserve jail time. I will press charges, and there's nothing you can do about that. Goodbye, Willow. After that, Danny, Eric, and I were called to the police station to give our statements. Danny and I both recounted instances of Willow constantly being careless in ways that endangered Eric. Then the cops asked Eric if he could tell them what had happened. Eric was afraid of the officers, but I managed to calm him down and tell him that he had nothing to be afraid of. One of the police officers offered him a donut, and he immediately relaxed a little. He didn't talk for a while because he was still processing everything that happened. The police let us take our time. Danny and I engaged Eric's attention to the best of our ability. We tried to make him feel like he was finally safe and nothing bad was going to happen again. Finally, Eric opened up and told us and the police that Willow had left him at the zoo when he was standing in front of the lion enclosure. Upon a few more questions being asked, Eric revealed that Willow had told him that she had a surprise for him and made him cover his eyes and count to 10. When he opened his eyes, Willow was gone and she never came back for him. Thankfully, he managed to find security and they kept him in their cabin until Danny and I arrived. I was furious, and I asked the police to be serious when it came to dealing with Willow. They assured me that they would be. Over the next few months, Danny and I went to quite a few court trials against Willow. She was charged with child desertion and endangerment. Eventually, she was sentenced to 10 years in jail. Willow looked devastated, but I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I no longer had to worry about my son being put in dangerous situations in her hands. Eric has been getting better. One of the first things that Danny and I did after the incident was put him in therapy. It has been helping him a lot. Danny and I are slowly getting through this as well. I know that Danny has been struggling with a lot more considering his own mother put his son's life in danger. It's slow progress, but we're learning to live normally again. Thank you for listening.